What's up, everybody, and welcome back to yet another episode of According to Blake. I apologize for not having an episode last week. Between Met Gala, between Mother's Day, I was swamped last week. It was fantastic, but in trying to get you all more solos, I'm really trying to figure out the best schedule for that. I am going to be doing a lot of traveling for the next few weeks. So next week, we're going to have to batch some interviews, also film a solo so that I can continue to give you guys a mix of both. So speaking of that, if you guys did see on my socials, yes, went to the Met Gala with Ebony as their red carpet correspondent. It was fantastic. For those that didn't see, it was all black everything for me. I had a black stylist, a custom gown that was designed by a black designer. Jjay sketched, created, and ideated that entire gown himself. He's such a genius. Black makeup artist, shout out to Renee. Black hairstylist, shout out to Weezy. Black videographers, it was everything black. And that was exactly what I wanted it to be, especially given the theme of the Met Gala and that I was there with Ebony. It only made sense. So if you guys did miss that content, you can check it out on TikTok, Instagram, Ebony's Instagram platforms. It was great. It was wonderful. What I will say, because I guess I never really gave my opinion on any platform about kind of the looks for the night, etc. And it was, well, first off, I was so distracted, I think, in the moment because you guys, it was torrential downpour. It was rain like I have never seen before. So much so that by the time I had left, where we were standing, where the reporters and press was standing, had become standing water. At one point, we were in 2 inches of standing water out there. It was torrential downpour. So I didn't really, until I was working, you're trying to flag down talent. I didn't really get the opportunity to really take it all in, form opinions about the looks, all of those things the way that I might have wanted to. So that brings me to my next point. When I finally was able to sit back and figure it all out, I'll tell you guys who some of my favorites were. Of course, Teyana Taylor. I think that she just, that night, was one of the people that understood the assignment the best. I think Usher's wife's outfit was absolutely beautiful. Hers too was black and white, kind of like mine. In my head, if I would have had even more time, her look, beautiful, stunning. Jasmine Tookes was one of my favorites. All of the Miu Miu girls looked absolutely fantastic. The looks were divine. I'm trying to think of who else I really loved. It was less climactic than I think all of us thought that it would be. I too felt that way in the moment. It just felt a little different. I went to the Met Gala 3 years ago, and a friend of mine who was also there, we were talking after, and we were just it kind of felt different. The vibe was a little different. I know that from industry rumblings and things like that, some celebs were afraid to come because they didn't want to offend, knowing the theme, etc. Some celebs showed up, and whether they knew about the theme or not, Nicole Kidman's clip killed me when they were like, "What is black dandyism to you?" And she was like, "It's when you have a black suit and you add a special button." That took me out. Speaking to that, and speaking to some cultural differences, I'm sure that you guys saw the reaction to Shah Rukh Khan, who was at the Met Gala. And, as a journalist too, and as somebody who, for me, the onus was not on me to interview Shah Rukh Khan. As for, Ebony, the talent that they want is exclusively black, right? But I think about the reaction that 2 black women are getting for it. When I watched it back, I felt like I was almost when I was looking at the reaction, right? And initially, when everybody was like, "These women were awful, they don't know who Shah Rukh Khan is," it was so clear by their line of questioning. When I watched it back, I had to kind of I was taken aback because I was like, have we watched the same things? Have we, number one, as somebody who is familiar with how that carpet works, you have to move people through so fast. Number two, Teyana Taylor made it a point to make sure that she pronounced SRK's name properly, all of those things. So I guess for me, when I was watching, I was like, I'm really not understanding what the issue is. Fast forward, and we find out that there was, in fact, a journalist who SRK did go up to, who did not know who he was and didn't know his name. And it just goes to, which I feel like is going to be kind of like a through line of today's episode, just when I talk about things that are going on, is I don't even want to say grace, because I don't even think that they needed grace in that moment because they didn't do anything wrong. But just the way in which Black women are expected to be superior, superb, and phenomenal every single time, all the time, and how exhausting it is. They were fantastic. There was nothing about that conversation that, to me, looked like unprofessional, that there was a lack of professionalism, or a lack of knowing. I mean, by default, yes, be clear, Shah Rukh Khan is one of the largest movie stars, not clearly not in the country, but not in this country, but in the world. He is one of the richest. He is one of the most renowned. But I think we also do have to understand, and I have talked about this before, it is an issue that we as Americans, we live very much in this bubble. But I think that it becomes an issue when Americans behave, right, in an entitled fashion as if we should only operate in our bubble. And that is not at all what I saw from those ladies. Not in the slightest. They moved with the utmost respect, so on and so forth. And so even though, if you ask me an SRK movie right now, I wouldn't be able to run one off. I am very familiar with when I saw his face, I was like, oh yes, Dev, I've definitely seen him before. But just because someone isn't ultra familiar with every work of him doesn't mean that they weren't good at their job that evening and that night. In fact, I think the line of questioning was appropriate. The first Bollywood actor, they led with that. Like, if anything, then they knew exactly what they were talking about. So nonetheless, hated the way that was received, but I've loved the way that the Indian community has come out and, been very vocal about the anti-Blackness and some of the reaction, et cetera. So it has been it's been wonderful to see the two cultures, Black culture and Indian culture, for the most part, really come together on this topic. And us really see eye to eye on it. So speaking of Black women who are expected to be exceptional all the time, I am watching Forever for the second time right now. I think it was Time that was like, Forever is not just a Judy Blume adaptation. It is one of the all-time greatest romance stories. And I could not agree more. I do not even know where to start. I feel like I genuinely could make this entire episode about Forever, but I won't do that. But it was it was so accurate. It was so realistic. I'm trying to figure out where to even start. So I guess I'll start with, I had posted this on Threads that I saw myself represented in just about every single woman in Forever. To those few of you who were so privileged, we'll use the word privileged, to know 17-year-old Blake, who also, just like Keisha, was madly in love at the time, who, just like Keisha, thought that she was going to be with her high school boyfriend forever, that was navigating going to Howard, just like Keisha was. And it's also, I don't know if you guys know, I have posted this. The Uncle Charlie character is based off of my real Uncle Charlie. So I was already so excited, but just to watch it all come together, it was so realistic and so much an imitation of art really imitates life. And it was so much of my life. When I think about, it has been so bothersome for me to watch all of this Keisha slander and just slander of them in general. Oh, these kids are so toxic. So God bless you if you weren't toxic at 17, but I'm 30 and I block people a lot now. Imagine how I was at 17, right? I had this boyfriend. I was a lot to handle. And I was so much the reason that I really identify with Keisha is that in the world that we live in, Keisha would be considered a lot. And what I love, just like myself, I'm very much considered a lot, whatever that means. And to watch characters like Wood Harris tell his Black sons that they should not fear women who ask and require a lot, but in fact, they should be honored to be with them and should want to be with them and should, you know, and it is the best thing and the best decision that they can do. It was just so, everything about it. I should have better organized my thoughts here because I feel like I have so many different thoughts. But first, to the grown ass men that have been particularly outspoken, and Black women who have been particularly outspoken about Keisha's character. It is so indicative of the world that we live in today. How dare a Black girl be traumatized by a man? Well, boy, how dare she be traumatized by a boy? Somebody else calls her trauma. And you all get on the internet and say that, oh, she's not deserving of love and she's not deserving of him. As if her traumas weren't, again, caused by the same demographic that is now online. Talking about it, I saw this woman post and say that her husband couldn't sit past episode 3 because he thought that the film encouraged good men to settle for toxic, traumatic women. Number one, she was dealing with revenge porn. I don't think we're 15 minutes into this. She was dealing with revenge porn, and at 17 years old, I'm 30 years old, and I could not even fathom having to deal with that. On top of that, she is dealing with societal pressures of being perfect. She wanted her mom to think that she was so perfect, which, you know, we know that Shelley didn't expect that of her, but nonetheless, that's what she wanted. She had an absent father. It is so indicative of the world that traumatizes and re-traumatizes Black women and then tells them that because of their traumas, that they are not worthy of love, that they are not worthy of happiness, that they are not worthy of peace. However, when I think of all the films that I could think of right now, good films that I love, right? So I don't want to make it, you know, let's think about Love and Basketball. Love and Basketball, The Best Man. I can go through film after film after film where Black men do Black women terribly wrong, far worse than what people have tried to equate what Keisha did. And the woman takes him back and they're supposed to live happily ever after. Now, again, that's not even close to what Keisha was protecting herself. And it also goes back to one of the things that Wood Harris had said when he was talking to Justin. Wood Harris's character was saying when he was talking to Justin, and that like you found a piece of yourself that you want to protect. And whether we want to acknowledge it or not, men do mature a lot slower than women. Keisha was more advanced than him. And it was so much like my high school relationship. This young girl who is so certain of herself, at least for 17, right? Not, you realize you really weren't certain of shit, but you're so certain of yourself for 15. So, you know, and it's this guy who you love and who loves you back. But he is taking a little bit longer to figure out his footing and to figure out what he wants to do. And you're kind of stuck in limbo with that. She is the perfect dynamic character. And Justin's character was so indicative of the kind of soft, accepting, kind love that I think so many women, not just at 17, desire, but that we desire right now. And it just felt great. You know, I think we're so traumatized. So many of us, I saw it on Threads, we're expecting something terrible to happen every single episode, whether it was somebody dying, whether it was when the cops were there, we just knew that they were going to pull them over and perhaps something would have happened. And there was none of that. Like, it was Black, happy, functional love through and through. And every dynamic was so real in a character that I had seen before. You know, I come from a family very similar to Justin's. And so, you know, all this discourse around if we like Dawn is a spectacular mother. In fact, when I was watching, I was like, oh my God, this is going to be me as a mom. And yes, no, she wasn't perfect. I've never heard of a parent that was perfect, but she was a Black woman who was committed to raising a productive, kind, responsible Black man in this country, which I fear a lot of parents are not focused enough on these days, because if so, we wouldn't have all these issues. She was fantastic, and this world could use a lot more damn Dawns and a hell of a lot more. I don't know why I'm blanking on Justin's dad, Wood Harris's character, but we could use a whole lot more of them. It was just so real, seeing Uncle Charlie's character, because I think, there's also been a lot of discourse around the Uncle Charlie character, like, oh, I would never let him speak to my child. And this is why we are getting further and further and further as a society and a community from the village mentality. It's the same thing when Dawn told Justin that Keisha had no choice but to tell her mother. That is the village mentality. And that is something that if that would have happened at my age, I would have been like, I hate Dawn. She's the worst person ever. But now as an adult and as somebody who, God willing, I'm about to start claiming it, y'all. I'm trying to have a baby soon, who is trying to have children soon. I could only hope that if something fell through the cracks and I was unaware of what was going on with my child, that there would be a responsible adult who would step up and make a decision for her when she is too young to make it for herself. And it was just community through and through. Her grandfather, who you would think was the mother's father, but it was actually her father's father. And, that line where Keisha had said, he's doing his best, speaking about her father. And the grandfather was like, he's not. There was accountability in the film. There was love in the film. There was happiness in the film. And, I think as an adult now, kind of on the hunt for love, as I look back on the way that I viewed how in love I was, or how much I thought I was in love. I need to not put quotations because that's going to negate my point here. I think as I've gotten older, I've said like, oh, that wasn't love. That wasn't anything. And I saw this thread that kind of just gave me a new perspective, where she was like, those feelings are in fact real. Like the feelings that you feel at 17, the love that I felt at 17 when I just knew that man was going to be my husband. Those are real feelings. The love that me and him share for each other, those were real feelings. I think as adults, now in hindsight, we know that 9 times out of 10, it won't work out. And that was the thing. As I'm watching this movie, it was so much like it was the Howard piece. When I was in high school, my boyfriend was thinking about transferring. He was a year ahead of me. He hated his college at the time. He was thinking about transferring to Howard for me. As I'm watching this, you want them to be together forever so bad, especially since that's the name of the movie. But as a young woman who was 18 once, preparing to go to Howard, who had a boyfriend, it was like as bad as I want them together. And as much as I was crying and boohooing, 30-year-old Blake, remembering 17 and 18-year-old Blake, was like, Keisha, you got it. Like, thank you for saying the thing out loud. You have to enjoy Howard by yourself. Like, you have to enjoy Howard by yourself, because it's a movie. Again, we want it forever, but that was not going to be the case. But it was just she was so mature. And that's another thing. It's like, as people are like, oh my gosh, she's so toxic. Y'all did not want to see Blake at 17. If y'all thought Keisha was toxic, you should have seen the shit that Blake was up to at 17, especially behind that man that I loved. Y'all don't want to know. Y'all thought blocking was bad. You ever hacked an email at 17? I was quite ahead of my time. I've since, had to put those ways against me, but it's put those ways behind me. But it's like, you lack proper emotional regulation. It's nothing that I'm proud of. In fact, I'm so proud of the fact that I have, learned life so much that now I'm like so opposite ends of the spectrum. But those are things that you have to learn. Those are things that you have to go through. Those are things that you have to that you have to figure out for yourself. And I thank God that not only did I have parents who allowed me to figure it out for myself, but who are still very much present enough that it never went too far, that Blake's behavior was always able to be curbed. And speaking of like community, it was like there were times when I was crashing out. I'll never forget. I had crashed out. I hacked into his email. She watches my podcast. I love you, Miss Tiffany. And his mama found out. And his mama told my parents. And I was going through his phone all the time. And his mama came up to me and was like, we're done going through phones, right? There are things you can't. And at the time, I'm like, she wants to be involved. That's my man. You're 17. There are behaviors in me that needed to be curbed. And she helped me do that. But that is the village mentality that we have gotten so far away from as people that I want us to get back to so bad. I talked about it on TikTok once. So if you guys don't know, well, I've talked about it. I moved to the suburbs and I live in a house now. So I don't live in an apartment or apartment building. I live in a house. And I have a neighbor that always handles my packages. She's an older Black woman, and me and her have looked out. I won't get too much into details, but me and her have looked out for each other in ways that you forget. You know, you kind of live in this isolated world, especially living in New York where everybody minds their business. And it's my first time living next to two Black women. There's one Black woman on this side of me. There's another Black woman on this side of me. And I love having Black women around me that don't mind their business. Like, she takes in my packages. She'll send photos of my packages. She'll text me like, hey, everything good over there? If she hears anything, if she hasn't seen my car for some days, she's like, hey, where are you? Are you there? We as Black people have to get back to the village mentality. And again, I know some people are going to be like, Blake, you're a millennial. What do you know about village? No, I don't know it in the capacity that, say, our parents knew it growing up, but I know enough to know that we have become far too individualistic and far too mind your business. And the reality is that there is so much more power in community. There is, if people aren't afraid of consequences or showing their asses in front of people anymore. And like, I think that it's so important that, you know, I can't act like that because they gonna tell my mama. Oh, I can't act like that because they're gonna tell my dad. Like, those things are important and we need to get back to it as a people. And I think that just Mara Brock Akil is just so brilliant in her storytelling, because not only are they accurate depictions of Black life that don't involve trauma and pain and suffering, that will come, right? Life, trauma, pain, and suffering is going to come regardless. It unfortunately is inevitable. But that is not the through line of everybody's story. And it is just so important for everybody to watch forever. If you haven't, it is the best show ever. I told myself I was going to give myself a week. The next day I started episode 1 again, because it makes me feel so good. And I think just as a girl who, you know, yeah, I act hard body on here, but it's like, I really do think about finding my person a lot. And now that I'm 30 and I'm getting older, and I know that I'm not old, I want to be clear, but it's just, it starts feeling, being single at 30, it feels a lot more scary. I feel like I don't have as much time. I feel like I need to rush. People around me are putting a lot more pressures for things than I usually would put on myself. And above all, I want love. So I think sometimes it can feel sad, because I think too, when you look at numbers and just kind of when you see some of the things that are out there in men, you kind of sit and you just go, will it find me? You know, like, will love like that find me? And I know that it will. But seeing movies like that, it just makes you feel again. You know, and I think when you've gone so long, one of my mutuals on TikTok, Angela, was just talking about how she's been single for 9 years. She's 40. And I think, you know, when you haven't felt those feelings, right? Looking at Keisha and Justin and just knowing how much, it didn't matter age, how much they loved each other, and looking at Dawn and her husband and seeing how much they loved each other. It does. I got a little love FOMO. But in the best way, because I feel like I keep watching because it makes me feel good. It makes me feel warm and fuzzy, and almost for a period of time forget that while love is not lacking in my life, romance is. So watch it. I loved it. I told you guys, I really could. How long did I talk about that? Like 10 minutes? I told you guys, I could talk about it the entire episode. Maybe I should do like, people have been asking me to do Patreon. So maybe I should do like a Patreon, an entire discussion on Forever. Okay, moving on, because you guys know, even though I can't stand him, I do have to talk about it because what is going on in this world is important. If you guys did miss it, Donald Trump, he is not our president, not my goddamn president, did accept a private jet from Qatar rather than flying Air Force One. If we are not living in the deepest of darkest hells, I don't know what is. As if that is not such a threat to national security, as if that is not such a, like, I am at an absolute loss I wish I could say that I'm surprised. You guys know I don't talk too much about it on here because I was transparent about the way that just kind of where we're at as a society is really, really, really been fucking with my mental health really profoundly. And it really has done a number on me. We have to talk about these things because we cannot. Like, I'm just like, when is this going to end? Like, at what point are they going to, are Democrats, Chuck Schumer, I guess the Qatar thing, now he's put a hold, to my understanding, on Trump's DOJ appointees and all these things. And I want to be clear. Two things can be true at once. I can be super pro, let's get this man out of here. Let's go vote blue, while also acknowledging and also showing my support for those who have gotten in the field, the Jasmine Crockett's, the AOCs, while also saying that as Democrats, we have got to grow some fucking balls. This is ridiculous. And I'm watching, everybody now is like, oh, Chuck Schumer is going to do this. It is ridiculous. And I do not know at what point we stand up to, he's a petulant child. Everything that he does is for shock value. He doesn't see anything through. It's like, at what point do we stand up to it? Now, like I said, I'm no master of politics, but I am someone who is an active participant in knowing what is going on around her, because I am very aware of what we are facing right now. And I just encourage everyone to have a basic knowledge, a basic understanding. TikTok has really been such a great place. There are just so many incredible creators who really can put everything that is going on in this world in layman's terms. And it's just really important. I say all that to get to, speaking of people who are standing up, as if I didn't love Miss Rachel enough already. I don't even have no kids, and I love Miss Rachel. As if I did not love Miss Rachel enough already, she has doubled, tripled, quadrupled down on her stance of the humanity of the way that we have been treating, not we, the treatment of those in Gaza, particularly children. And when we see brands and creators and celebs who refuse to speak on what is happening in Gaza right now, you have Miss Rachel, who has so much to lose, who has repeatedly, they have asked her to clarify, they have asked her, and her response has stayed the same. That she wants justice for the people of Palestine, that she wants justice for the children of Gaza. I saw this incredible video earlier that literally made me almost cry while I was waiting to come in here and record. And it's her and this baby, she's not a baby, she's a toddler, double amputee. And there is Miss Rachel. She has, I think I have this issue, and I know that I don't think everybody should be platformed, because I don't think everybody's political view should be platformed, because I do think it's dangerous. And I think that part of what we are seeing right now, when we think about the Andrew Tates and the Fixin', what are they, Fit and Fresh? I hate them, whatever they are. The issue with that is that everybody has a platform. And I do agree that everybody doesn't deserve a platform. But I think that when you do have a large following, and I think that when not only you have a large following, but you have a large following who you are impactful. You're not just somebody with a big old following, but you are somebody with impact. I think that when you have large impact, I am so sick of this conversation. And this might be the hot take. Let's stop telling people with impact, actually, like, well, what are they supposed to do? They shouldn't speak up. They shouldn't do this. Yes, the fuck they should. What is the point of having impact? What is the point of having such a large platform if not to make the world a better place? What the hell is the point? What is the point? And so when we are watching babies' legs and heads get blown off, at what point do you say, perhaps this is an issue, perhaps this is a problem, and perhaps I should say something about it? I want to be clear. As somebody who is a creator, as someone whose money comes from brands, and as someone who, wants to be a fixture on television, I get it. I understand the fear that it could evoke and not knowing. And, like I said, the guy last episode, the guy Brand Flakes got on here and said that he lost a 6-figure deal for talking against Trump. I get it. believe you me, I get it as somebody who is living this firsthand. But it does get to a point for me where my moral compass can't just sit back and watch the atrocities happening in the world and pretend that because it is not directly impacting me now. I say now because we don't know how this is going to go. It is not directly impacting me now that I'm just not going to speak about it. There is a war on misinformation. There is a war on logic. There's a war on education. And I have always promised that if I have a platform and if I have the opportunity to speak, then I am going to speak truth. I am going to speak for peace, for equality, for justice. And it is so damn crazy that y'all, ain't nobody asked you to get up here and be Malcolm X. Nobody asked that. But it is so crazy to me that creators don't understand. Well, they do understand that just speaking your support for issues that are impacting people matters. It makes me sad. But nonetheless, you know who ain't silent? Miss Rachel. And I fucks with you, girl. And when I have kids, just know that you are going to be the second mother as you are to millions of other kids, okay? I'm rocking with you, Miss Rachel, because you're rocking with us. Okay. On to kind of the more, do I want to keep doing that? I'm not going to dive too much into this, but I want to say the Diddy trial has began. And I just want to say that, Cassie, your strength, I could not fathom. I could not fathom being in your position and having to relive the horrors that were done to you time and time again. And now that we are hearing them in a greater capacity and knowing what was done to you, I just want to let you know that I love you. I adore you as a fan, as a longtime fan. And thank you for your strength. And for you funky ass Gen X Black women, because I think this matters. It's not, I talk about men all the time. We know their shit. To the funky ass, particularly Gen X Black women that defend the behaviors of abusers time and time and time again. I pray your edge is thin. I pray that you have gastrointestinal issues for the rest of your goddamn life. I pray that you never know peace. Because it is always so jarring to me, you know, of course, when we watch the R. Kelly documentary, you see these women. It's women. It's not men standing out there at the courthouse in droves. It's women, particularly Gen X and boomers. We have to do better. We have to do better. And I don't want this to be a heavy episode. We're going to get into the smutty things, but I did have to get those things out of the way because, again, as somebody with a platform, it is my responsibility to talk about certain things. Now let's get on to some funnier things. Oh, this isn't funny, but I hate some of y'all. I hate Iman Shumpert wants Tiana Taylor jailed for 20 days for a violation of speaking on what when she got on live and spoke about kind of what's going on with their divorce, which she really didn't do. She very much did it she gave just enough, but she didn't give any details. Just keep shot at, girl, and your man is fine. Your man got a whole chance. Aaron Pierre, that's Mufasa. Just keep, like you said, keep getting folded like a pretzel by one of the finest men in this country, sis. Keep doing you. Okay, so Roni has been canceled. I will say, I didn't see it coming, but I do wonder if this is going to be like if Bravo in general is going to start folding franchises. I will say this, after how dark the end of the last season of Roni got, I figured that they were going to have to do a shift. Like that Bryn Uba situation was just far too dark and we had completely lost the plot. But I don't think that I completely expected them to wipe the franchise. But I do think that they have tried the revamp with Roni, twice, really to no avail. Kind of that brigade when Ebony K. Williams came in. That was their first kind of shakeup. And then they wiped completely, just did a full wipe and then brought in this cast and it just hasn't worked. I am shocked that they're wiping the franchise, but I will say this. If it is to bring other cities, bring other franchises, then I think that that's important. I do know that franchises are trying to make things younger. it's so funny. I saw Cammie talking about it, that she was asked to be on Real Housewives of Potomac. I was asked to be on Real Housewives of Potomac like 2 months ago. Like they were fully ready to move forward with taping. So I think that everybody is kind of trying to make everything younger now. But it's interesting. I just wonder how it's going to land in the age where everybody is a fan of the show or has seen the show, et cetera, et cetera. So it is interesting to see. And so I wonder how it's going to play out. Speaking of Real Housewives of Atlanta, of course, there was that episode it was a boring episode. There really wasn't much. I mean, this is the beginning of Shamia and Portia's, the demise of their friendship, which is really sad to see. As I've told you guys before, we really got to see the beginning of the end this episode. And to my understanding, they are done now, which really, really sucks. But yeah, it's interesting to see because Angela is definitely carrying. Angela Oakley is definitely carrying, but I don't think that she has enough. She doesn't have like a sparring partner or somebody good enough to keep the momentum going. Angela can't carry the entire team on her back, though she really is trying. I really think that she's fab. I'm going to dive into Chronically Online because I realized that I really did spend a lot of time talking about Forever, because now I'm like, oh, we've moved through this. I want to say that my new guilty pleasure on TikTok Live, and I don't love streaming, but there are some people that I just really like enjoy. Santana and his crew on TikTok Live is giving me it's giving me everything that I needed. If you guys don't follow, just search like Santana on Live. So he has this new man, to my understanding. He has this new man, so there's been drama with him, but then his best friend, who I find to be absolutely hilarious. I don't know, I'm blanking on his name right now. It's been a long day. Mitch, his best friend Mitch is on there, and he's so funny. In my opinion, Mitch might be almost funnier than Santana. They're just funny in two completely different ways. So funny. If you guys have not just watch the clips, you all are going to die. It is so funny. Just the entire group. And so it'll usually be Santana, the boyfriend, even though I hear they're beefing right now. I'm trying to catch up, y'all. Santana, the boyfriend, and Mitch, and then they'll add others like Darrell. Speaking of, I want to give a shout out to Santana. I want to say that the young boy's name is Junior Bacon Cheeseburger or Junior Cheeseburger or something like that. That's what he goes by. And he's this young gay teenager who somehow ended up on Santana's Live. And Santana has taken such a role in being just this active, almost like parental figure for him. One of the clips that I saw that really warmed my heart is that they just moved and Santana asked the boy's mother if she would be okay and if she found it appropriate, if he purchased him a bed, because he kind of knew, that the mom was already spending a lot of money on moves. And it was just the way that Santana's handled him with care and the way that an adult handles a child. He asked the mother when he was on Live, he was like, I just didn't want you to think, this is a grown man buying my child a bed. So I wanted to know if you were okay with that. Can you find it on Amazon? I'll send it. Was just perfect. Junior Cheeseburger or whatever was getting in trouble in school because he had been streaming and not paying attention. Santana refuses to go live with him and stream with him until he gets his grades up and until he starts paying attention. Santana, I think that you would be a fantastic mother, father, whatever you want to be. I think that you would be absolutely fantastic. Like if you 100% could be the auntie to my kids whenever I have some. Like, anyway, if you guys can catch those clips, really, really funny. Okay. So have you guys seen they're dubbing babies' faces to recreate these scenes that happen between adults. And while they are the funniest things ever, like they did one at the Met Gala and they made everybody, they made a Mary J. Blige and all these things. And it's like these baby faces doing it. While it is the funniest thing ever, it has reaffirmed to me that you all will never see my children on social media ever until they are grown, because it looks so realistic. But I'm like, that's a baby we've seen before. That is a baby that we've seen before. Speaking of babies that we've seen before, there's been a lot of backlash behind Miss Shirley, who is the baby. Yes, Miss Shirley is the baby. If you guys have seen the baby doing the boots on the ground dance with the fan, she's so cute. She's the cutest. She's I don't know how old she is. She can't be older than 3 or 4 years old. Things are cute and fun until they're not. And I think that money creates money makes people lose their mind, even parents behind their kids. People are saying that there have been some videos created by Miss Shirley's parents that are suggestive. And if you guys are not aware, you probably are living under a rock if you're not aware. It has been unearthed through TikTok and social media that there is this huge kind of underworld and black market dedicated to pulling content of young children from social media that these pervs and creeps look to and want to, and want to utilize for God knows what. And Miss Shirley, there is I'm not going to detail the video, but there's a video where there's a song that is definitely an adult song that alludes to sexual activity. And she's wearing an outfit that is, and I don't believe in the over-sexualization of children, but I do think that we cannot pretend that it doesn't happen. That is, nonetheless, everybody is saying that she should no longer, that brands, that events should stop paying her, should stop posting her. And I'm going to have to say that I'm going to have to fully agree. We have to let kids be kids. I also did not know that the song Boots on the Ground, I don't be listening to the lyrics, but I guess the song Boots on the Ground is inappropriate too. Well, it's not inappropriate. It's just a song for adults, which I just have not been paying attention. And kids need to be kids. And I love that all of these states are creating laws against posting your children. Now, I want to be clear. I want to be abundantly clear. There are children and families that I follow on social media that I absolutely adore, that I think are so wonderful and so great, at least from what I see. We never know what goes on in someone's home. However, I don't feel entitled to anybody's children. So if when people go nuts, when a parent is like, I'm no longer going to post my child. When somebody gets on there like, we're no longer going to post my child. Okay. Like I'm not entitled to anybody's child, but there are creepy people in this world who feel entitled to people's children. And so I really am happy that there are laws being set into place that, not only limit how much a child can be posted, but if they are going to be posted, that they are that they are compensated and that money can go to them when they are of age. If you guys are looking for positive things, Chaka Khan is on TikTok and she does meditations, like guided meditations. She looks like a goddess. The voice is just so ethereal. If you're looking for a little meditation or just a little voice to take you to sleep. I'm somebody who has to listen to voices to go to sleep. It's not good. I need to figure it out. When I say voices, I just like hearing, like a little bedtime story or things like that. I'm about to start listening to Chaka Khan. Speaking of TikTok, the Yellowstone National Park TikTok. I don't know if they're like, well, Trump is getting rid of the national park, so let's just act crazy anyway. You guys should take a gander at some of their recent TikToks. They are sexually suggestive. They're very funny. I don't know who's running their TikToks over there, but it really is given like we all finna lose our jobs anyway. So what do we have to lose? So let's put my back behind a photo of the Yellowstone National Park of the water falling. And I'm going to have to say that I get it. The world's going to shit in hell anyway. I mean, why not make sexual jokes about Yellowstone Park? What else do we have to do here? The girls are back every year and a half. Y'all do some dumb shit with Gorilla Glue and post it to social media. We had the girl with the hair. Then we had the girl with the lashes. Now we have a girl who wanted tooth studs and glued Hobby Lobby rhinestones to her teeth with Gorilla Glue. Now, if you've never read a Gorilla Glue bottle, it says that extended internal periods of exposure can cause organ failure. This girl had those things on her teeth for days and days and days. Now, here's the thing, and I talk about it every single episode because I truly feel like it's relevant, but the thirst for social media. So I went on the girl's page. I ended up going on her page just to see. She does stuff like this all the time. And this is just the first one that caught traction. But I'm like, y'all are really willing to die About 100,000 views. And the thing is, what's interesting about it is that like when you do things like this, it's not like brands flock to you for brand deals. It's not like brands want to pay you. It's not like you make a little money in that app once or twice and then what? Like, how are you going to market yourself as anything that anybody would ever want to work with if you are so silly as to be putting Gorilla Glue on the inside of your body? You know what I'm saying? Like, if I was a brand, I'd be like, so she's an idiot. We're not working with her. But I'm just like, between that and sour cream martinis, y'all, I want better from my people. I am tired. Y'all not tired? And I get it. Everybody's crashing out right now. I'm this close. I'm crashing out too. We're all just trying to figure it out. We're all just trying to make it to the next day. We're all just trying to hold it together. And I understand that it is hard to hold it together. But social media and the desire for clout has made it 10 times worse. Now, speaking of things that are viral, that some of y'all might think, there's probably mixed emotions here. Quan Mills. If you're not familiar with Quan Mills, he's an author, an urban author, I guess you could call it. You guys might be familiar with some of his works, like My Baby Daddy Got Roaches, things like that. He has these novels with these outrageous titles, and he churns them out quicker than Tyler Perry churns out like TV shows. Like, he's so quick. It's outrageous. People have been saying that, like, I saw this hilarious video. It was like, Quan Mills is what happens when a black man uses his neurodivergence for evil. I think it is hilarious. It's just funny. Like, life is real serious. I know I say this every week, but life is goddamn serious. And so if we can get some comedic reprieve, y'all should just search Quan Mills and at bare minimum, just look at the covers and the titles. Like, I'm not saying that, like, look, we're in a literacy crisis. I'm not saying that Quan Mills is here to fix the literacy crisis, but what I am saying is that for some of y'all that don't want to read, I have a feeling that a Quan Mills novel might encourage you. And I think that in that case, reading a little something is better than not reading at all. So I encourage you all to look into Quan Mills. Let me know what you think. I think that his content is freaking hilarious because it's just like, it's so clear that he's a troll, but he has found a niche and there are people that will read this type of literature. And he writes, he's no Zora Neale Hurston now, but he can write. You know what I'm saying? He can write. You know, he can put a sentence structure together. You know, he can put a sentence together. I don't hate it. That's all I'm saying. Quan Mills, please keep. Am I going to read one of your books? No. But am I going to keep laughing and cracking up every single time one of your books pops up on my TikTok feed? I absolutely am. Combos with friends as we kind of wrap up. Conversations that I have been having with my friends. Well, guys, we are this close. We are this close to the egg freezing process. It is happening in June. We have made an appointment. I feel a lot less when I had spoken about it earlier in first season. You know, I talked about my fears around it. I'm not fearful. I don't know if I told y'all. No, I went in for my appointment and left finding out that I have PCOS. And so it shook me a little bit. I'm very thankful that after some blood tests and things like that, the doctor is optimistic that the eggs that I have will be, some strong eggs, and I will have an abundance of eggs to pull for a strong retrieval. But I'm feeling a lot less down about it. And so to women who are scared or who were like I had said, I just didn't go to the appointment. Go to the appointment. I felt so much better. I'm going to a very, very reputable, very renowned fertility specialty clinic here in New York. I have a Black fertility specialist who was really pragmatic and just made me feel like it's fine, like it's okay. And I'm very happy that I went to her now. and was able to find out about the PCOS so that I can do what I need to do, once the retrieval is done, to really prepare my body now for, I'm preparing my body right now for the egg retrieval, but I can really prepare my body for the carrying of a child now. And, do the things that I need to do. And I'm blessed, the blood test, the scans, everything that she did, my PCOS is not super, super severe. She does not foresee any issues with me carrying nor being able to conceive. But I recognize that I'm blessed in that, and I'm happy that I did it. And so I say all that to say to anybody who is scared to go and do it, just find out. Because I'm like, if I just would have let this PCOS get worse, and for those wondering, I have had symptoms, very regular periods, but I'm on birth control. So there was like that, it regulated it, very regular periods. I haven't had any facial hair, but the weight gain piece is a thing. The weight gain piece was really a thing, and some other things, definitely PCOS. But just go, because I couldn't have imagined if I just let this get worse. And at 35, I don't know how quickly it's progressing or what it's progressing into. And so I'm happy that I did it now. And yes, I really should have done it sooner. But like I said, I was afraid, I was apprehensive. I didn't know what it meant. And I think I was waiting out too. Like, well, I can try it the natural way, but again, the two don't correlate. And it's important. It is really important. I saw a piece on CBS Morning News about a woman who is 22 years old who froze her eggs. And her reason being is that she's going to med school. She said after med school, then you have years of residency. She wants to become a doctor. And she was proactive because she knew that she would be too busy doing things, very important things for her future, to freeze her eggs. So my one regret in all of this, because it wasn't this big, bad, scary process. And even if it was, we have to stop being so afraid to know what's actually going on with our bodies. It's not this big, bad, scary process. And it is important for us to know so that we can do what we need to do. I've been telling people recently that I'm going to cut back on going to so many brand events and lean more into my personal life. I'm not going to cut back on working, but I don't need to go to so many brand events. I don't, not anymore. I needed to, but I thank God that I have gotten my career to a point where I no longer have to be seen all the time at brand events to be considered valuable to brands and valuable to others. It took a while, but I've done it. And now I have been an active participant in my professional life and a very passive participant in my personal life. And I have resolved that I need to be more active in doing the things that I need to do to create the life that I want to live long term. And I've been rocking the professional thing. I'm not going to stop rocking the professional thing. I'm not letting my foot off the gas of the professional thing. But I've realized that I have now outgrown a part of my career that sustained me through content and you guys have seen me through. I don't have to do it as much anymore. So that opens up the space and the world for me to be a more active participant in working towards Blake, who's a more present friend, working towards Blake, who wants to be someone's wife, working on Blake, who wants to be someone's mother, all within 5 years. So yeah, we as women must be active participants in our health. We must be active participants in our life. And so, that is one of my first steps towards active participation in the life that I know that I want. So I love you guys. Thank you guys for being here. Like I said, I'm traveling a lot, so we are going to batch some interviews. I have some wonderful interviews coming with some wonderful people for y'all that you guys will see in the next few weeks. Next week will be a solo because I'm going to pre-record it before I hightail it out the state and the country for about a month. So yeah, love you guys. Bye.